On a visit to his paternal family's home, M coincidentally discovered his cousin, a graduate from a prestigious university, beautiful and educated, had volunteered as a free caregiver, looking after their paralyzed grandfather, handling his meals and hygiene. At first, M was contemptuous, thinking she was being fake, just trying to show off her filial piety. But what M didn't expect was that on the very day his grandfather passed away, M was only given a piece of silver jewelry, and only then did he learn that his grandfather had left his entire fortune, including a house worth millions, to his cousin. This couldn't help but make him think of his maternal grandmother, who lived alone and also had her own house. And so, an idea to make millions a year suddenly popped into M's head. This was because not long before, his mother had told M that his grandmother also had cancer and was in her final stages. The doctor said that at most, she only had a year to live, so his mother hoped that when M was free, he could visit her more often. But at that time, M was just engrossed in video games and had no desire to go. But now, the secret of a fortune hidden within family ties pushed M to go in person. But when he arrived below his grandmother's house, M didn't go in right away, but instead took a picture of the house and posted it online, pretending to be the seller. When he learned this house was worth $100,000, the joy in M's heart could no longer be hidden. Back to his grandmother's reaction, she was a bit surprised. "Why have all you grandchildren come to visit at once?" "I came to see how your leg is." "Your grandson came to visit? Aren't you happy?" "Why wouldn't I be happy?" To show his filial piety, M quickly took out the beef noodles his grandmother loved most. But his grandmother said she didn't eat beef. "I worship Guanyin, so I don't eat beef." This left M speechless. But to win her over, M still had to reluctantly ask, "What do you want to eat?" She said she wanted the fried fish from that famous shop, but in front of them was a long line of people queuing. M was impatient, without a shred of patience. So M turned his gaze to the deserted stall next to it. Seeing a plate of fried fish brought to the table in less than 10 minutes, his grandmother didn't even need to look to know this kid was trying to pull a fast one on her. "I've been buying fish from that other shop for 40 years. You think you can fool me? This is from a different shop. Too much oil, I'm not eating it." Helpless, M had to obediently go back and queue again. But as soon as M finished buying it and ran back, out of breath, she had already eaten her fill. "What did you eat?" "The very fish you bought for me earlier." Seeing his goal unachieved, M decided to attack Guanyin, the one his grandmother revered most, intending to offer tea to show his sincerity. But for a dropout who spent all day at home playing video games like M, how would he know how to win over an elder? His sneaky demeanor was immediately spotted by his grandmother. "Is the water you boiled hot?" "Of course." "Then why didn't I hear the kettle whistle?" "I used the microwave to heat the water." "You clumsy oaf." Just like that, having been at his grandmother's house for less than half an hour, M was kicked straight out. "Don't come back again. Besides, you don't normally come anyway." So, unwilling to give up, the next day, M brought a gift to his cousin to ask how on earth, as a granddaughter, she had managed to surpass the direct children to become the primary heir. Do you know what it is that the elderly truly yearn for, but can never get from their children and grandchildren? Obviously, M didn't know, and his cousin answered, "Time." Then, his cousin asked him if he noticed a certain smell from his grandmother. "It's the old person smell. That proves you haven't been by her side long enough. You have to stay with her until you don't notice the smell anymore." I even got used to the smell of Grandpa's urine. Finally, after discovering the secret to successfully staying at his grandmother's house long-term, M reluctantly sold his only valuable possession, his computer. "I'll buy you back when I have money." After that, M went to the supermarket to buy some daily necessities his grandmother needed. Carrying the remaining red envelope, M moved in with his grandmother. But the unexpected care from her grandson made the grandmother feel that something was definitely being hidden. "Why have you all really come here? If there was nothing wrong with me, would you kids even have come?" The grandmother didn't know about her illness. To put her at ease, M had to tell her the truth that she was in the final stage of cancer. "Grandma, you have cancer, but Mom and the uncles don't want you to know." "Is it that serious?" Stage 4. "The doctor said you only have one more year to live. When I was little and lived here, you took care of me for years. Now it's my turn to take care of you. From now on, I'll be by your side." Perhaps moved by her grandson's filial piety, the grandmother accepted the red envelope. Consider this payment for water and electricity. This unexpected agreement made M jump for joy, and he immediately seized the opportunity to propose waking up at 5 a.m. the next day to help her sell kanji. But who would have thought that after one nap, it was already noon? Luckily, in the end, it was considered a helping hand. On the way back, she led M to her friend Annie Ahoa's house. She also had cancer, but her family had never visited her once. Seeing the grandmother being so well cared for by her grandson, Auntie Ahoa couldn't help but feel envious. This also made him think that he finally had a place in his grandmother's heart. But the next day, what she did left him feeling disappointed. Just because when they went to deposit money at the bank, she was still as wary as if guarding against a thief, not letting him go in with her. That left him confused. Then, the day after, her actions became even more unpredictable. He only saw that she was dressed up beautifully from early in the morning. Why isn't the last button done? Are you going for a sexy look? Stop. No need. It's too tight. After asking, he found out that today was a family gathering. Because Im spent all his days at home playing video games and never went to his grandmother's house, he knew nothing at all. Perhaps knowing her time was short, the whole family rarely gathered in such numbers this time, and they brought many delicious dishes. It had been a long time since the grandmother had seen the whole family together, so she cheerfully took out cards, wanting to play a few rounds. But her two sons immediately refused, saying they were busy and had to leave after eating. The grandmother knew exactly what they were worried about and said it bluntly. "I know I have cancer. He told me everything. This is her body. I think she has the right to know." Hearing this, the successful eldest son immediately said he knew a famous doctor who would surely cure his mother. The youngest son, who was drowning in debt, said he would do his best, installing a handrail in the bathroom to prevent her from falling. Even the eldest son's daughter said she would study medicine in the future and would definitely cure her grandma. The scene seemed incredibly warm, but Im, standing to the side, realized each of them had their own calculations. The next day, Im's mother switched from the morning shift to the night shift, saying it would be more convenient to take care of the grandmother, but Im probed. "Are you hoping for something, Mom?" "Hoping for what? My mother is sick. If I don't care for her, people will call me unfilial. Am I supposed to let others call me an ungrateful wretch?" Clearly, his mother's filial piety was also doubted by Im and became distorted. Im even saw his own mother as a competitor. When his mother was tenderly taking the grandmother for a swim, Im deliberately brought up the story of her changing shifts in front of the grandmother. Unsurprisingly, the trick was very effective. The grandmother, feeling for her daughter, told her to go home and rest. "Can't you just let me do something for Grandma? Every time you try to do something good for her, it just ends up being a hassle. That time you quit school to help her sell kanji, was that somehow wrong?" And so, Im had driven his mother away from his grandmother's side. "Let me take her to chemo. Just consider me your representative." After that, the responsibility of taking his grandmother to the hospital fell on Im's shoulders. But having no experience with this, Im had to ask his cousin for help. It was not yet dawn, but the hospital corridor was already packed with people in line. People used their shoes to save their spots in the queue just so they could catch a quick nap. While his grandmother was receiving chemotherapy, his cousin congratulated Im because in their line of work, taking an elderly person to the hospital was a huge plus. But in the eyes of his cousin, who was already very adept, what Im was doing was still too little. She suggested that for the next chemo session, Im absolutely had to go inside with his grandmother. That way, his position in her heart would be elevated even further. Hearing this, Im quietly committed it to memory. After returning home, the grandmother, who had never let Im help her up the stairs before, happily accepted this time and even rarely allowed Im into her private room. Looking at her room, the photos of his own childhood made Im unconsciously reminisce. When Im was little, he was extremely timid, having to sleep next to his grandmother every night, only able to fall asleep peacefully after hearing her lullabies. But hearing it retold, Im was tight-lipped, refusing to admit he had ever been so cowardly. "So that night, didn't you say you weren't scared? What are you still doing up in this pitch darkness?" "I'm praying. I dreamed of my parents. They came to take me home. My dear boy, am I about to go join my ancestors?" But to comfort his grandmother, Im deliberately made a few playful jokes. "You don't eat beef. How many cows have you saved? You're not going to go that easily. Trust me." Then Im told her to sleep next to him. Although she was a bit hesitant at first, she finally smiled and agreed. "Thank you, my boy." When the noise and bustle of life quieted down, the bitter cup of wine called life, with its bittersweet aftertaste, began to be poured down the throat. But Im gradually adapted to it all. Afraid that something might happen to his grandmother if he was neglectful, Im installed a camera in the house. But this inadvertently allowed Im to see the true nature of the youngest uncle, his grandmother's youngest son. The next day, the youngest uncle arrived as scheduled to install the handrail in the bathroom, but did a shoddy, perfunctory job. The handrail was loose and not at all sturdy. He even intended to pick the pomegranates at the door and take them with him. The grandmother refused, no matter what, so he started acting spoiled. "If you don't give them to me, I'll kiss you right now." "No, if you don't give them, I'll kiss you." Although it looked affectionate on the outside, the grandmother wished her youngest son wouldn't come at all. Why is that? Because if he doesn't come, it means he's doing well. Thinking his position in his grandmother's heart had risen again, a single sentence from his cousin sent Im's mood plummeting to rock bottom. "Can we rank ourselves? Who does Grandma love most right now? First place is probably the eldest uncle or the youngest uncle. One plays the stock market, the other is a good for nothing. As for me, I'm probably ahead of my own mom. But being third gets you nothing. So M asked, "When did you know for sure that you were number one in Grandpa's heart?" "Probably when he told relatives about me, saying I took very good care of him." "Probably so." The next day, the grandmother's eldest son took everyone to his private home. The house was luxuriously decorated, and he had a very sensible granddaughter who had even prepared a medical bed for the grandmother. Even the eldest uncle's wife, who had never cracked a smile at the grandmother before, was suddenly beaming with warmth. It was at this moment that the eldest uncle suggested the grandmother move in with them. Seeing the situation was not good, M quickly said, "Grandma still has to go to chemo. Running back and forth like that is very inconvenient. I work from home with stocks, so I can take care of her all day. But what about the kanji shop? Customers have already started complaining because you don't sell on Sundays." The atmosphere immediately became tense enough to freeze. Seeing it wasn't easy to get past M, the eldest uncle took out a wad of cash and gave it to M, wanting to coax him into backing down. But M was clearly not stupid enough to trade something big for something small. "No need, eldest uncle. I'm not doing this for money." Seeing that M was unresponsive to both soft and hard approaches, the eldest uncle went before his grandmother and started playing the sympathy card, wanting to use filial piety to make his grandmother stay. "Mom, I want to be your full-time son." Although the grandmother said nothing, her expression was enough to understand her meaning. That left him utterly hopeless. Because the grandmother greatly revered Guanyin, the eldest uncle's family took her to a temple by train to worship that day. It was because of this that M realized the eldest uncle's family had no real intention of caring for the grandmother. When they took her shopping, only M was always by her side. When the eldest uncle's family was performing their prayers, M discovered that even though her feet were bleeding from scratches, she refused to change those shoes. These are the shoes the eldest uncle bought for her, right? Even though she always favored the eldest uncle like this, M still noticed that when writing their wishes, no one in the eldest uncle's family wrote a single blessing for her. Yet on her own small wishing paper, it was covered with scribbled words, all of them her worries for her children and grandchildren. This made M sigh. That eldest uncle's family has no real intention of caring for her. They are just sowing seeds, hoping for a bountiful harvest later. He has his own family. He has to think of his own family. Hearing this, M was furious. M knew the grandmother understood everything better than anyone, but still pretended not to know. "Grandma, isn't she his relative too?" Just as she turned back, next to the eldest son's wish was M's paper, the only wish that blessed her. On the train ride back, the evening breeze felt heavier than usual. Before reaching the station, the eldest uncle didn't forget to remind her, "Mom, next Sunday, please pack your things. I'll arrange for a car to pick you up." Hearing this, the grandmother nodded slightly, but M felt extremely uneasy because M knew the eldest uncle didn't really care for her, and she saw it too. On the way back, she suddenly called M over. "My boy, my feet hurt so much. I want to change my shoes." Without a word, M immediately took her to a store and picked out a new pair of shoes for her. But she unexpectedly asked, "Huh? You're also sowing seeds, hoping to reap a harvest later, aren't you?" That unexpected question left him flustered, not knowing how to answer. But then an idea struck M, and he mimicked the eldest uncle's tone. "I want to be your full-time grandson. Your mouth is always talking nonsense. If you don't believe me, that's fine too." The more chemo sessions she had, the more pronounced the side effects became. The grandmother's hair began to fall out in large clumps. To help her worry less, M turned on the beauty filter on his phone. "What are you doing?" "Look, Grandma, isn't it beautiful? Don't you look better?" "Oh my, you care about your looks a lot too, don't you?" Just as his cousin had said, accompanying an elder to chemotherapy was a huge plus. After this experience, the grandmother also began to rely on M more. When the last cicada gave its cry to the twilight, its shed skin stuck to the branch of a parasol tree like a receipt for the changing of seasons. Summer also quietly passed by like that. So that M wouldn't have to worry, despite caring a lot about her appearance, the grandmother decided to shave her head. She very much hoped M could find a stable job, so she passed on her craft of cooking kanji to M, at least so M wouldn't follow the same failed path and become an idle good-for-nothing like the youngest uncle. That day, the grandmother finally spoke her heart. She really disliked the second day of the Lunar New Year. The fridge was always full of leftovers, and she had to quietly eat every last bit of it. M was suddenly awakened at that moment. M couldn't imagine how for all these years, his grandmother had lived so lonely by herself. How much torment of solitude had she endured? How many days and nights had she spent like that, alone? That's why, just like the leftovers in the fridge after the New Year, they had become a symbol of the loneliness she couldn't face. "It's so good to have you here. It's so joyful." At that very moment, M was determined to stay by his grandmother's side, to walk with her through the rest of her life. But the very next day, she discovered that the money hidden in the tea caddy was gone. Luckily, the camera M had installed came in handy at that moment. It turned out that on the day the youngest uncle came to install the handrail, he had secretly taken the money when no one was looking. This sent M into a rage, and he went straight to find the youngest uncle. Grandma only makes a profit of 10 to 20 baht per bag of congee. How many bags does she have to sell to make 200,000 baht? Do you have a conscience? It turned out the youngest uncle, due to his gambling addiction, was in debt for up to 1 million baht to loan sharks, so he had stolen the money to pay off the heavy debt on his shoulders. Even though M had scolded him fiercely before, with a soft heart, M ultimately still took out the silver bracelet his grandfather had left him. It's real silver, it can probably fetch a good price. After returning home, M lied to his grandmother. M said that no one was at the youngest uncle's house. The neighbors said he's gone to work far away. Is anyone home? The grandmother thought it was the youngest uncle's creditors coming to collect money, so she immediately told M to hide, and she would handle everything. But the person who arrived immediately said they wanted to buy the house. That person also said the news of the house being for sale came from her grandson. It was the very picture M had taken on his first visit to his grandmother's house. Now, it had become the fuse between the two of them. She sat on the chair, quietly heartbroken. She recalled all the things M had done over the past few days. Thinking back now, it seems so ridiculous. M was also sowing seeds, waiting for a good harvest. She took the shirt she had bought for M and put it on him. When you were little, you were top of your class. Now if you try, I believe you can do anything. Okay, go find a decent job. But from beginning to end, she never exposed M's motives. Even going to the pomegranate tree by the door to pick the fruit she had never let anyone touch, and peeled it for M to eat. You once said if the tree bears fruit, don't give it to anyone. I've only saved it for you. Here, eat. I don't remember that anymore. I'm sorry for always calling you useless. At this moment, M finally understood why she never let anyone touch the pomegranate tree. Let me stay here for a while, okay? I'll leave once you're better. This time, M truly wanted to stay and take care of his grandmother, and she was once again moved by his sincerity. Then, can you go somewhere with me tomorrow? The next morning, what happened left M utterly surprised. A place as magnificent as this was his grandmother's own brother's house. Seeing her linking arms with her brother, happily walking and singing, M genuinely felt happy for her. After the reunion, she stated the clear purpose of her trip. She wanted to borrow 1 million from her brother to buy a plot of land for her final resting place. But as soon as he heard about borrowing money, the brother who had been so affectionate just moments before immediately turned hostile, as if facing an enemy, looking down on his younger sister terribly. When our parents left the house to me, I sold it for several million. You never asked me for a single cent. They were right not to give you money. Even if they had, it would have all been wasted by that good-for-nothing husband of yours. But that good-for-nothing husband was arranged for me by our parents. If you really want money, go ask your sons for it. Seeing his grandmother, despite being heavily humiliated, still wanting to borrow 1 million, M truly couldn't understand why a person as frugal as her would become so concerned with face over choosing a burial plot, and her answer left M choked up and speechless. If I have a beautiful grave, maybe then people will visit me more often. But M said that no matter where his grandmother was buried, he would come to visit. This, however, reminded her of the last time M went to visit graves with everyone. M was extremely indifferent. If you're still so carelessly scattering flowers after I'm gone, I'll come back to settle the score with you. M immediately joked back, then just come on back. On the way home, the two of them walked and talked and laughed, as if the cancer never existed, but reality is always cruel. What must come must be faced. The doctor told M and M's mother that the grandmother's body could not endure anymore. Continuing treatment would only cause her more pain. M didn't know since when he no longer dared to tell her the truth. M only lied that her condition was improving, that she wouldn't need chemo anymore. But she said, "This is my body. I have the right to know, don't I?" That sentence was what M had said to his grandmother before, and now she used it to reply to M, exposing his lie. At this moment, M was left with only helplessness and heartache. Now, M truly loved his grandmother. In the middle of the night, M was awakened by her pained groans. "Mom, Dad, where are you? Take me with you. I'm in so much pain." Unable to bear watching her suffer, M took her to the hospital again. When everything was settled, the eldest uncle finally deigned to show up. But the first thing he asked wasn't about his mother's condition, but about the deed to his grandmother's house from M's mother. "Eldest sister, where's the house deed?" "Mom is still alive. Why are you asking about that now?" "Well, someone has to take care of things, right? It's easier to sort it out now than later." M's mother couldn't accept her own brother fighting with a relative over a deed like a hostile debt collector. And M, watching from a distance, although he couldn't hear clearly, had already guessed part of the story in his heart. M thought to himself, "Mom, if he asks Grandma to sign anything, you must not let her sign it." His mother turned around and handed the deed to the most useless one, the youngest uncle. and this was done on the grandmother's instructions. That made him furious. When his mother asked him to look after the grandmother for a moment, M was no longer in his usual mood, but still couldn't stop himself from asking, "Haven't I taken good enough care of you, Grandma?" "You've taken very good care of me." After hearing her words, M couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. M loudly questioned her. "Then why am I not number one in your heart? What number am I? What number am I really?" The grandmother was momentarily at a loss for words, as if something was about to come out, but she forced it back down. That shattered M's heart. From then on, M no longer visited his grandmother. Life gradually returned to how it was before, sinking into video games day after day. But it seemed M didn't realize that his grandmother's life had long since merged with his own. He would automatically wake up at 4 a.m. Even the vegetables his mother bought, he would unconsciously put them away in the fridge. His mother told M a piece of news. The youngest uncle had sold the grandmother's house and asked him to help clear out her things. Everything in the house could be thrown away. "You and your eldest uncle say the exact same thing." He even said that if Grandma dies, he won't even bother coming to the funeral. Not getting the house is actually a blessing. The feeling of giving is always more pleasant than receiving. "Are you trying to comfort yourself, Mom? Didn't you want that house too?" "When did I ever say I wanted it?" "Then why did you switch from the day shift to the night shift back then?" "Because I missed my mom." His mother's words sent him deep into thought. It was at that moment that M understood how truly foolish his thoughts had been back then. Perhaps his mother had never had any designs on his grandmother's assets. She was simply loving her own mother in her own way. As for M, he too had actually changed his original purpose. In the process of living with his grandmother, he was angry that the house was given to the youngest uncle, all because he just wanted to claim the most beloved position in his grandmother's heart. The camera at the grandmother's house recorded her as she was every day, sleeping alone, eating alone, praying by herself, sitting alone by the door waiting for everyone to return. The only difference was that the grandmother had a new habit. Using the beauty filter app, M had taught her to save images of herself. Seeing it all unfold before his eyes, an indescribable emotion welled up in M's heart. So M immediately went to the nursing home the youngest uncle had put her in, determined to bring her home. And now, the youngest uncle had paid off all his debts and still had some money left. Thinking of how much M had helped him, the youngest uncle decided to give a portion back to M. "You take it and use it. No one will be there to help you in the future." The youngest uncle quietly took the money back. So M went to his grandmother's bedside. Compared to before, she was much more frail now. Seeing the shirt she was wearing, with the last button just fastened, M habitually helped her unbutton it, just to let her show off a little sexiness. "Grandma, let's go home. I'll make you congee." So M took his grandmother home. Along with her came all the memories full of kinship, the pomegranate tree overflowing with the grandmother's love. The grandmother discovered that her daughter's fridge was just like hers, always storing expired food that she would then slowly eat. "You shouldn't be like me, eating expired food. Cancer can be hereditary." "I know. The son inherits the assets. The daughter inherits the cancer." "I'm just kidding. Actually, I know you're the one who treats me best." Perhaps in a mother's eyes, every child is number one in her heart. In a flash, the new year arrived again. That also meant it was time for a family reunion. The eldest uncle also brought his whole family to visit the grandmother, but he hesitated, refusing to get out of the car. M understood. He was still angry about the grandmother's house. "Do you know? A long time ago, Grandma loved beef. But because you were often sick as a child, she prayed to Guanyin Bodhisattva to protect you, only wishing for her son to be healthy and safe, on the condition that she would never eat beef for the rest of her life." At that moment, the eldest uncle had a sudden realization, and remorse washed over his heart. A mother loves all her children equally, never favoring one over the other. It's just that as a mother, her heart aches to see any of her children suffer. We always wait until we are about to lose someone before we realize their sincere love. Only then do we learn to cherish that precious, hard-to-come-by affection. But by then, it is too late. When we look back, we discover that person is no longer there. Perhaps she knew her time was not long. That night, she suddenly woke him up and then, gathering the last of her strength, held up one finger. At that moment, the answer M had always longed for, the late, had finally arrived. And the grandmother entered the final moments of her life. M sorrowfully began to sing the lullaby she used to sing to lull him to sleep. But in the end, those weak tears still streamed down, unable to be held back. In a flash, it was the day of her burial. M prepared her favorite beef dish for her, but an unexpected phone call came, leaving M utterly stunned. The person on the other end said that his 1 million fixed deposit had matured and asked if he wanted to withdraw it. Hearing those words, M was sure it was a scam. But when M got home and rummaged through his bag, he pulled out his grandmother's savings passbook. Only then did he believe the phone call was real. M also understood why she never let him accompany her every time she went to deposit money. because it was the money she had saved for M, and all the entries in the passbook were real, all of it from her for M. Back to M's childhood. Let's go open a savings account. Look, Grandma will deposit money for you. Because you were first in your class, Grandma will continue to deposit money for you next year. You think you'll save until I'm grown up? I want to save several million. Oh my God, are you cursing me? What do you need 1 million baht for? I want to buy you a new house, Grandma. That childhood joke, she had kept it in her heart all this time. Looking at the fading memories at the end of the small road, M decided to fulfill his childhood promise. Please withdraw all the money for me and then close this savings account. Grandma, let's go. Grandma, we've just passed the kanji shop. The hearse moved silently through every alley, weaving through the bustling traffic, passing by the places she had once lived. Everyone wished this journey had no destination, but in the end, all journeys must come to an end. Grandma, we've arrived at the new house I bought for you. As he said this, M's lips suddenly stung. Grandma, in my heart, you are always number one. End of film. White kanji cooked in the early morning, the scent of incense smoke winding around the altar, a folk song sung in a local dialect. Her wrinkled face is a masterpiece of time, and also a silent stream of affection. She was willing to give up her favorite beef just to pray for her son. She even fought through her illness to sell kanji to pay off her son's debts. Until her last moments, she still uttered the words, "You are number one," to complete the final salvation for family ties. M, from a person who schemed for personal gain, gradually became a truly sincere companion. M was like a spring silkworm, peeling off the cocoon of self-interest layer by layer. Finally, in the wailing cries bidding her farewell to her final resting place, the kinship in his blood finally awakened from the depths of his soul.